Hello and hiya, I'm Calfetti, or you might know me as Orion Seas because I go under both interchangeably. It's just that I produce Max Design Pro content under one and Minecraft content under the other. This is more meant to be just chill content that you have in the background because I like those type of just speed paints where you can just listen and you don't really have to watch it until the very end. Today I'm drawing just the regular twiddlefinger from the FNF mod because I don't think I've actually drawn him just normally like that, and I usually just give him a lot of just character traits and quirks that I just randomly come up with, so I just kind of wanted to exercise myself into not over just detailing stuff with my own personal stuff for once. And it was pretty fun, I can't lie. I'm not saying that I don't like adding details or character quirks to the little characters in Max Design Pro is like a weird thing or anything. It's just that sometimes I feel like I draw him like a Tumblr sexy man and I just need like to kind of prove to myself that I don't do that. Now, what I meant to say before I immediately started laughing is that I was trying to say that it's perfectly fine if you want to add your own headcanons to characters. I do that literally all the time, and I think it's really interesting to see what people just add to the characters. I'm just saying that sometimes I hear from the people surrounding me that I am just projecting really hardcore and that maybe I should stop. But this is a sign to you from me, just from everything that I've heard around me, that just keep going, keep projecting onto this little monkey guy because who else will do it except you? I'm starting to realize that I get a little bit off track during these speed paints because I have no idea what to say, because I don't think that what I have to say for anything with art is really that interesting. But I will say that with this piece in particular, I did try my best to incorporate just a bunch of hearts. With the eye socket in particular, I try to make it like, you know, he's the apple or the nugget of his eye, but because the way that I colored it later on, I don't think that you're really able to see all the lines that are in the shape of the heart, which is really unfortunate because I remember that it actually took me a long time to even figure out how to do it, and then I ended up messing it up, so well, it's my bad, but at least you can see that I did try my best to do that. One very important art tip that you probably heard around just a lot, because I've heard it a lot too, is to flip your drawings, and I didn't realize how weird the mouth kind of like, it's uneven. It goes from one side a little bit too far up and the other is not in the same vein, and I realized that way too late because by the time that I realized that the mouth looks kind of weird is when I merged everything into one layer, so I just could not stop it. So don't make the same mistake I did whatsoever. Make sure to flip your canvas to make sure that you're happy with what it looks like before you do that, and trust me, you don't want to be put in that position. It really stunk. Just for context, the whole just stripes that were put on the sweater obviously meant to mimic a heart, but secondly, I did them in the most lightest like piece of line art that I ever could, so it took way longer to do, and I won't say that the effect looks really like not cool. I think it turned out really well, but if you are one of those people that do not like meaninglessly doing like the same repetitive task over and over again like I do, I would never recommend doing it like ever. I think you would literally go insane. Here's a pretty funny fun fact about this drawing. The things that took the longest, I think anyway, for this whole entire drawing was actually drawing Nugget and the help button, which is very surprising because I feel like those are not the most important elements or ones that you wouldn't really think would take a while, but they took like at least like an hour or two before, because for some reason, I am just not good at drawing chicken nuggets. I did not know that I would ever have that problem ever before in my life, but I just do. I don't know how Mr. Max Design Pro does it because it is a struggle for me. You aren't really able to see it because the colors are super subtle, but I am doing the shading for the hands and everything else when it comes to the drawing, and this part actually was a little bit tricky in the sense of when I did the shading, I didn't really expect that most of the shading layer that I thought was finished and was nice looking would come up kind of janky with all the different lighting layers that I did eventually later, you'll be able to see it in the drawing, but I remember the struggle of going through all my different layers for the shading and not being able to figure out which part was the one that was giving me the most trouble. I'm not trying to make everything in this drawing sound like a struggle, but I think it's important to know that even if I feel very confident in some aspects of the drawing, like the whole detailing of the sweater and other stuff, it's just that I don't know how to talk about the other stuff, so I think that talking about the stuff that I did struggle with is very important. And one of the things that I struggled with was how gory I kind of wanted the skull to look like, because in the perspective of the way that the drawing is and the reference that I was using for the original twiddlefinger, I wasn't actually sure how much the skull would be exposed versus the skin, so that was a struggle within itself. Maybe I just never have had an exposed skull before, but I never knew that that would ever be a question that I would have just in general, to be honest. I mentioned in one of these videos that I had to look up very nasty references of eyes. This time I didn't, because all I needed to do was look at my own eye, because I accidentally dropped shampoo in my eye earlier and it still stung by the time that I was doing this whole part of the coloring process, so yay for shampoo, but please don't ever put it in your eye. It was really painful. Honestly, my favorite parts of doing this whole drawing was just the sweater. I don't think I mentioned this a whole lot during the speed paints or just in general whenever I'm just talking about like just my art on Twitter or anything, but doing the sweater detailing is usually my favorite part of the drawing, because I usually turn my brain off and just try to think of how I want it to turn out. And that's all that really matters to me at the end of the day, is just, do I like it? Did it turn out well? Because I overanalyze way too much aspects of my art, but the thing that I'm always proud of is how the sweater turns out. And as long as you find something, to me anyway, that you can just like doing every single time you draw something, I think that is like a good enough motivation to keep just drawing stuff just to do that one thing that you really enjoy too. Now we're kind of on to the special effects, and man, this part is probably the one that took the longest, because I wasn't actually sure how I wanted to do it per se. One of the things that I had in mind when I did this drawing is that I wanted the light to be the most dynamic thing a part of the drawing, and I wanted everything else to be dark. But when it came to me doing that in actuality, the only thing that I had in my mind, as in just general inspiration of how I wanted this glowing effect to look, is that one image of the wizard with his blue orb pondering, and that was the only thing I had. And you know what? That's completely fine. I'm really glad that that was the only thing I thought of, because it turned out well regardless. I'm one of those people that just have one single thought, and man, I'm gonna try to do it even if it's the most convoluted way possible, because that's just kind of how it is when you create stuff. You kind of just try your best and you hope that it works. Originally, I had the drawing just kind of done like this, where it was just all dark and the background was the same background that I have typically for all my other canvases, just pink. But I realized that that's kind of lame, and I didn't really want the sweater colors to just go the waist at that point, because I feel like despite the fact that this was the original idea that I had, that I really didn't like how necessarily it came out, so I decided, I'm gonna add more filters and details to it and make sure that it looks bright, kind of dark and menacing, but still colorful, where you can see everything that was done already. I made this spiral background kind of based on Love Me, Love Me, Love Me, because I remember that Twiddlefinger is meant to be just a love story / love song, so I thought that would be kind of cool to add that. And that's kind of all there is with the drawing, so thank you so much for listening to my ramble. I know that I don't really offer art advice or anything, I kind of just give you some advice that happens to relate to art, but I do appreciate that you listen every time, so thank you so much. I hope that you have a nice day. If not, have a better tomorrow. Bye bye!